Hello and welcome to another Halloween edition of Game Sack.
I hope you're ready to be frightened because we've got a lot more scary-ass games to show you tonight.
These games are scary. I mean, I don't get scared of games, but they scared the hell out of Dave.
Yeah, I was scared. And I want to go first this time so I can go ahead and go to bed and forget the whole night.
Okay, yeah, because these games are scary. You better get to bed early. So anyway, let's take us to it.
Okay, here we go. Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Super Nintendo is a great game to play on Halloween. It's filled with all kinds of scary enemies like these zombies here. This game had zombies before they were super cool like today.
So I guess this game was a hipster before there were hipsters.
That's right, it's well ahead of its time. Some people complain about the developers taking out the ability to shoot upwards like Joe here. He played the crap out of Ghouls and Ghosts where he could shoot up and now that feature's gone.
I'm all for games adding features over their predecessors, but they should never take features away.
It'd be nice to have, but the game is completely playable without it. It actually makes the game quite a bit harder. They did add a double jump though. Once it's mastered, it lets you make some incredible leaps of faith. You can turn in midair and come back to where you started from, for example. The game does move at a slower pace than Ghouls and Ghosts, which also might turn people off, but again, you really have to be desperate to make this complete.
Well, let's just put it this way. The original Ghouls and Ghosts is the only game in the series that I can fully appreciate playing. But that might be because it's the only game that's incredibly easy, I don't know.
On the plus side, the graphics are undeniably gorgeous. The atmosphere of this game is definitely spooky. I love how in Stage 2, when you're riding the waves on your little raft, you can see the merman in the background. But the next time around, he's gone. Where is he? Ah, he's coming for me! Too bad he's such a wussy and super easy to kill. The music is also downright scary and adds to the spooky atmosphere.
Well, I don't know about scary, but it's definitely fitting.
It's one of the better soundtracks on the SNES, I believe. All in all, this is a must-have title for your SNES library.
Alan Wake is basically a third-person shooter for the Xbox 360. You control Alan Wake, a famous novelist who escapes to a quiet town to write. But then things start to happen. Your wife drowns and some evil force seems to be all over the place.
Oh, the humanity!
It's okay, Dave. Many things are happening just like you wrote them before.
As it happened, just the way it was on that page. So dark.
The only way to solve all of this is to pick up a flashlight and a gun. You're always safe in the light because whatever you're hunting hates the light. Something that's cool is that each part of the game is presented like a TV episode.
Previously on Alan Wake, Alice has been kidnapped.
Alan, please help me.
Alice?
You'll do exactly what I say if you ever want to see your wife again.
I can't tell anyone except my agent Barry.
Damn it, Barry, they'll kill her.
Your character is also constantly narrating the game.
The gas station was my best bet. They'd have a phone I could use.
Basically, you shoot possessed people and demonize objects to slow them down, but ultimately it's the light that kills them. This game can be pretty spooky, but sometimes I wish it would have been even more so instead of just throwing me from one shooting match to the next. That's not to say that the game's bad, because it's actually quite enjoyable. It's similar to the Uncharted series in a lot of ways, but it isn't anywhere near that good. But if you can get it for cheap and you like shooting your way through a spooky-ass town, then Alan Wake just might be for you.
You know, Joe, it's games like this that almost make me wish I bought an Xbox 360.
I have found only a few scattered pages.
I want the entire manuscript.
The deadline is in 2 days.
I found Mr. Wake's pages.
Good girl.
Now let's go to the Game Boy Advance for the Pinball of the Dead? Well, why not? We have the Typing of the Dead and the House of the Dead, so why not the Pinball of the Dead? In fact, this is a great game to play on Halloween if you're on the go. It's truly scary. I mean, look at these digitized graphics. Ugh! Actually, if you play this on a Game Boy Advance, they look just fine, but when you blow them up like this, they just don't look very good. This is a quality pinball game, and I would even say that it's in the realm of nags at pinball games like Devil's Crush and Jackie Crush.
Really, I wouldn't. It moves far too slowly and the music is nowhere near as good as those games.
Well, it plays similarly with a board that scrolls with the pinball's movement. There are extra rooms that you can access to fight bosses and tons of enemies and lights all over the playfield. Sadly, I'm not as good at video pinball as I would like to be, but at least you can get a feel for what it's like here. The game keeps the feel of the House of the Dead series and gives you 3 playfields to choose from. The music is really well done for a Game Boy Advance game. Usually they have a scratchy sound to them. This is a great video pinball game, and I would highly recommend it if you are a fan of video pinball or even the House of the Dead series.
Failed. Have to hurry.
Ghost Manor for the TurboGrafx-16 is a very horrifying game. Made by the master programmers over at ICOM Simulations, this game puts you in the role of a righteous dude who has to do something. But it's spelled out in the beginning if you really want to dig deep in this game. You can jump, shoot, crawl, and do other righteous things. Just look at your character's face.
How can you miss it? I mean, it's huge!
Yeah, it makes you proud to be in control of them, doesn't it? Anyway, you need to find the key to exit the level, and sometimes you even need to trigger an event to get it to appear. Then you've got to make your way to the door. Check out this guy. I guess his job is throwing an unlimited supply of knives forever and ever, just on the off chance that someone approaches them someday. Now you've got to jump up and up, which is a huge task in itself due to the horrible controls and the poor level design. And you don't have unlimited ammo either. If you run out, you have absolutely no way to defend yourself. Okay, so you get to the knife guy, you shoot him in the head a few times to kill him, which is what you need to do to get the key. Okay, so we got that. Now we wander over here so we can go all the way to the top to get the hell out of here. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, the programmers put in a lovely feature that makes the game immensely not enjoyable. You get the privilege of bouncing back anytime an enemy touches you. I can't even get past this level, and I'm not really sure I want to.
I think the game would have been a bit more enjoyable if it were more clear on the direction you needed to go. I do like some of the background graphics as they are perfect for Halloween.
The music will drive you nuts because it's just so repetitive.
Joe, those were some damn scary games you talked about there. I was frightened.
Ghost Manor is insanely scary. You turn that on, and just from the title screen alone, oh my goodness.
Yeah, the images that game conjures up. Actually, the scary game there, Alan Wake for sure, that really got me. I didn't want to play that any more than I had to. I was done watching.
It didn't have pastel colors that you like.
Oh my god, it was just too dark and dreary and just damn scary, and I would never do what that dude did. I'd be out of that place in a heartbeat.
Anyway, do you have more games for us to look at?
Yeah, I've got some more games.
Okay, let's see if your games are as scary as my games.
Okay. Let me go change my pants first. Castlevania Chronicles on the PlayStation is a good one. I don't need to tell you why, as you can already guess that it's loaded with scary creatures and all sorts of frightening things.
Yeah, if you're susceptible to heart palpitations, you might not want to play this super scary game.
Ask your doctor first. This version of Castlevania is an emulated version of the X68000 game, which is basically the first Castlevania with some new levels and graphics. Also included on this disc is an arranged version of Castlevania X68000. Basically, with this version, you have a new CG intro and ending, a new character sprite for Simon and Dracula, and a new map design. But the best part is a newly rearranged soundtrack. The original soundtrack is great, and this arranged version is also really good. The original game feels kinda clunky to control. Your character moves very stiffly. The arranged game controls much better and feels more natural. I really like this game as there's some really cool graphics that add some great atmosphere to the castle. I like how the dripping blood turns into red skeletons. That's just awesome. I really like this huge painting on the wall in the first level. I also really like this huge statue on stage 11. I love that kind of attention to detail. A great game all around, and if you don't own it, then you are missing out.
Amnesia: The Dark Descent is our first PC game review here on GameSack.
And most likely the last.
Well, you never know. I've said many times that I've never been scared playing a game, and multiple people recommended that I try this one. It's a first-person roaming fetch quest puzzler, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Basically, you're some guy with amnesia who left instructions for himself to seek out and kill some other guy in this gigantic castle of horrors.
My name is Daniel.
The amnesia aspect makes it convenient to find notes and other stuff on your journey to help explain the story.
My name is...
Nothing tremendously original here, but that's okay. What is original, however, is that you're not in a friggin' war zone. You don't have any weapons at all. You're not supposed to fight the monsters if you see them. You're supposed to run away and hope they don't find you. In fact, if you look at the monsters too long, it affects your character's sanity. Sometimes I like to follow them to see where they go. But don't get too close, otherwise... Oh dear! Oh, and to my knowledge, there is no run button. I've never lost enough sanity to find out if it kills you, but it's definitely harder to control and see things when your sanity is low. But, just like real life, if you're still and alone for a few seconds, your sanity restores itself. I like this aspect, as usually when you have a game that has a first-person perspective, you've got to do a lot of shooty-shoot, and that gets pretty old. The game moves along at a fairly slow pace though. Monsters are few and far between, but I imagine that's done on purpose to make the monster appearances more intense. And they can be pretty intense at times. Not scary, just, intensity like you get from playing any other game, just like, even Mario when you get in a tight situation. That's right, I'm saying this game isn't scary at all. That doesn't mean it's bad, mind you. The developers recommend you play with the lights out and with headphones, and I did that. It's just, to me, not scary.
I know it doesn't scare you, Joe, but I sure as hell jumped a few times.
Well, sure, but being startled and scared aren't really the same thing. The controls work really well for the most part, and the game doesn't need a tremendously powerful computer to run it at the maximum settings. I recommend it.
Super Mario Land 2 on the Game Boy isn't a scary game at all, but it does have a really cool Halloween-themed zone. Pumpkin Zone here has 3 levels and a boss fight with a witch. That's right, a witch. If you haven't played Super Mario Land 2, you are truly missing a very unique game.
I've never heard a Mario game described as unique before.
As you may know, the majority of Mario games have more or less the same enemies. This game has tons of different enemies in every zone. There are random Koopas and Goombas for sure, but there are a lot of other things in here that you've never seen in another Mario game. This is one of the best Mario games out there in my opinion.
And there are tons upon tons of them out there.
Do we need to compare Mario and Sonic again, Joe? Yeah, it's on a handheld, but who cares? I love it. Control-wise, it's pretty much just another Mario game, and that's fine. I always loved this game in its entirety, and I thought adding a Halloween-themed zone was really cool.
The Darkstalkers series is an oddly appropriate game for Halloween. In Darkstalkers, you fight one-on-one as various monsters. The game was originally an arcade, of course, but it came home to play on the PlayStation, supposedly ported by Psygnosis. You've got 10 playable characters and 2 bosses. The graphics and animation are really cool, and it's the first Capcom fighting game to use this cartoony art style. The music is also great and extremely fitting. The sequel, Night Warriors, was ported only to the Saturn. It's billed as a true sequel, but it's really more like Super Darkstalkers Turbo, really. You get 2 new characters, Donovan and Heisenko, I hope I pronounced that correctly, as well as the ability to play as the 2 bosses. You can also have more than one special gauge as well. The graphics and music are pretty much identical to Darkstalkers from what I can tell. Still, I'd rather play Night Warriors on the Saturn than plain old Darkstalkers on the PlayStation. I mean, the Saturn has the better controller with a really nice D-pad and all 6 buttons right where you need them. Of course, we can't forget the third Darkstalkers game, simply known as Darkstalkers 3. This was released in the US on the PlayStation. This game does away with the typical round-based matches and instead makes you deplete your opponent's life bar twice in the same bout. You know, I kinda like this as it keeps the pace going. While the PlayStation version here has some great graphics and music, the version you really want to play is the Saturn version, which unfortunately was never released in the US. The Saturn version is simply known as Vampire Savior and it requires the 4 meg RAM card to play. Because of that, the character animations are much better and more faithful to the original arcade. It also has higher quality sound effects and much faster loading times. In fact, you probably won't even notice any loading at all. Add to that the fantastic Saturn controller and you've got the best Darkstalkers game out there.
Joe, don't forget Vampire Chronicle for matching service on the Dreamcast. This game lets you mix and match options from all the games to create your own game style. The only downfall here is the Dreamcast controller sucks, so you're going to need to get the Total Control 3 adapter, which allows you to use the Saturn pad. I really like playing these games around Halloween. Some of the backgrounds are really creepy, and like Joe says, the music is really fitting. If you're really looking for something different, then Devilish on the Genesis might satisfy your craving.
Yeah, it kind of resembles Arkanoid or Breakout with the ball and paddle thing going on.
But this game has 2 paddles. Instead of everything happening on one playfield, the game board scrolls up, or left, or right, and eventually you come to a boss fight.
The game's overall theme and a lot of its visuals definitely fit the Halloween season. Anyway, the 2 paddles add an interesting dynamic. The bottom one stays down there as a catch-all, but the other paddle can be moved pretty much anywhere around the screen. You can even flip it on its sides to change how you hit the ball.
The problem is that the control isn't very accurate. It's sometimes tough to get your ball to go exactly where you want it to go.
Yeah, the physics are pretty bad.
You have a time limit on each level, but it's never been a problem for me to reach the boss before time runs out.
Yeah, but you also have to beat the boss within that same time limit. This tree guy takes about 1,000 hits and the ball moves so slowly that you'd think it was a broken 8-bit game. In fact, the entire level feels like it's running in slow motion.
I must say that the best part about this game is the music. It has some fantastic tracks on it that are very eerie to listen to and really does a great job of getting you into a Halloween or devilish mood for that matter.
Yeah, it's by Hitoshi Sakimoto, also known for games like Final Fantasy Tactics and Radiant Silvergun.
Joe, that's an interesting tidbit. I never knew that. It does have some enjoyable moments, but overall it's not that great of a game. This game was ported to the Game Gear and remade for the DS.
Oh wow, okay, so that's all the Halloween games we're going to talk about in this episode. That was just too much scariness for me.
That's fine by me. I love Halloween very, very much, but damn, you know, I can get scared pretty damn easily. I mean, Amnesia, that was pretty damn frightening, I thought. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I've soiled 3 pairs of my underwear. And
I know, that Super Mario Land level, that even made me soil my underwear. So,
yeah, my wife's pissed because she's got to wash 3 pairs of underwear now, and
yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
That's her problem, not mine.
Anyway, thanks for tuning into our Halloween episode, and we'll see you next time. And now something we did many years ago for Halloween.
It's scary, so grab a loved one and cuddle up.